actually for those who are living. Before we go to politics, we now allow us to send our sincere condolences to the late Musombeni MP, that is Suleiman Dori, who was just a young and very energetic young man who was the chairman of Coast Parliamentary Group. That means he was even trusted by all parliamentary groups, parliamentarians from Coast. So we really want to send our heartfelt condolences to the family, to the people of Musombeni, Coast in general, and actually the country, because we have lost a leader.
Okay, absolutely. And of course, even as a station, we pass our condolences on to the family and friends and the people of Msambweni at large. Want to move from that particular point to page 4 of the People Daily. Ruto has been stripped of state roles, says ally. Senate Majority Leader claims Deputy President has been rendered a mere figurehead in government, and they say that he was being told, Mark, to stay at home. When you look at this particular point of view right now, because even over the weekend, we've had him now repeat it twice, that the system is against him. He dared again the system to come for him directly instead of going for his supporters. Who is the system, Mark, that the DP is talking about?
Well, let me put on my strategist hat and try to deconstruct the whole issue for Kenyans. This issue began by a certain Rashid Echesa being seen on CCTV visiting the Deputy President's offices.
Do you feel that's where it started, or 2 years back?
No, this particular part B of this story. You know, when you used to watch tapes where you had part B, so this is part B. Now, why this is important is to understand where this spin comes from. Now, the association between the disenfranchisement of the DP and his alleged assassination plot comes from there. Now, one has to ask yourself, did the system plant Echesa in DP's office? Because that's where it starts from. Did they tell Echesa, by the way, you are about to do a crime, we would really like it if you did this crime in this particular location? Right? That's one. Two, we know that the late Sergeant Kenei, God rest his soul, was not a bodyguard of the DPs. He was basically a receptionist, in quotes, at the DP's office. Therefore, his death has no connection with the security of the DP. Okay? But there was a very big need to divert and change what the story is. Because it is bad politically for the DP for us to discuss Kenei and Echesa and things like that, because it's too close home. Okay? However, if you then spin the tale that your life is in danger, then suddenly all the newspapers are discussing how your life is in danger and what your political fortunes are. Now, make no mistake, that goes a long way in getting the sympathy vote. So that goes a long way into getting people saying, Aki Woye, see how he has been marginalized. The same person who is saying is marginalized is the same person who 2 weeks ago would go somewhere and promise a road, promise development, say he's launching a project. The question must be asked, at what point did he stop doing rallies which he purported to say are going to bring development and change to the people, to now stating that he has no power at all and the system is against him? Let me tell my Kenyan friends and colleagues, this is a political story. Okay? There is no merit, weight, or evidence to say that he has been so marginalized that his life is now in danger. Lastly, just to prove my point, if your target is Deputy President William Ruto, how is the murder of Kenei going to make it easier for you to assassinate the Deputy President? Those two things do not correlate. They are not related at all. So this is a political window dressing to get us off the narrative so that now we can discuss sympathy for someone who is very much alive and well and in no danger at all. That's the reality. Let
me bring in Sankok, because before the break you said the party is 101% intact.
In fact, I have gone to 120%.
120% now. We can take your figure. But like I told you, the stories and the utterances made by people in your party tell a different tale. Senate Majority Leader, of course, Murkomen, saying that the DP is facing an onslaught from junior officers, leaves many questions unanswered as to the role of the president in the suffering and persecution of his own that the deputy is going through right now. Soy MP Caleb Kositani says that we have witnessed a lot of humiliation, and we are now seeking an explanation from the president. The deputy president was not elected alone. Doesn't sound like a party that's 120% intact, Sankok.
No, it is, you know, every politician have a right to make their own statements, sometimes
to their party leader?
Emotions. You know,
because these allegations that they're making between the party leader and the deputy party leader.
Yes, and I can assure you that the president and the deputy president are an institution of the presidency. And what I will have told my friend Ruto was that if there is any division between the two of you, it is not for us to come in and discuss, because for me, I'm in parliament courtesy of one vote. That is the vote of Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm a nominated member of parliament.
Right.
It is for William Ruto to, if there is any division, which I doubt, but you know, as human beings, we are bound to collide in one way or the other, as human beings, not as the party, because the party is 120% intact. Let him walk to where Uhuru is, either in State House or in social places, apologize to him if there is anything he ever did wrong outside now our party hierarchy. But as for our party, Jubilee, we formed our party Jubilee on the basis of, on the solid rock of prayers. And I'm 100% sure that it is still intact.
So do you doubt what Murkomen and Kositani are talking about?
You know, I don't only doubt what Murkomen is saying, I also doubt what you people of the media are saying. We are saying that Ruto now a DP without...
No, but this is a quote. This is a quote from the senator.
Screaming headlines. Even Tujo is a CS without portfolio.
Yes, but this is from a senator and the majority leader in your party. It's not us who said it, it's him who said it.
Yes, and you have all the right to say whatever you want to say. You know, we have a freedom of speech in this country. But I was telling you that when we formed Jubilee, because I'm privy to what we did to form Jubilee, we brought together, you know, we had that concept of South Africa, where there was the oppressed and the oppressors, where the oppressed were kind of compensated by being made the president. And the oppressor, so that they were not left behind, are given the position of the deputy president. In Kenya, the concept was almost the same, because all along in post-election violence, it has always been Rift Valley versus Central Kenya. The oppressors have been people from the Rift Valley oppressing Central Kenya. We decided that for those who are oppressed from Central Kenya, let them become the president so that they're compensated, but also so that the oppressor don't turn out to be the oppressed. You know, the hunter can become the hunted. Now let them also not being left out, let us also become the deputy president. And that is the solid rock that we formed Jubilee. And I'm sure for the sake of our country, for the sake of our country, that handshake of 2012 is very important. And for me, when I see these stories, that there is division in Jubilee, my heart really bleed. And surely what we pray for is for the unity of Jubilee, which is the party that I trust, and for the unity of our country.
Joy, the senator also was talking about the roles that the DP had during the first term of Jubilee. He chaired most of the meetings dealing with electricity, roads, youth, education, and always reported to the president. We now know who chairs those particular meetings when the president isn't there. We have the super CS, who usually is answerable to, it seems, the rest of the cabinet. The cabinet is answerable to him as far as that's concerned. We've had talk that the DP is, you know, principal assistant to the president. What really are the roles of the DP when you look at it legally? Because we've had this back and forth. What should he be doing? Because they're saying he's supposed to be staying at home. What should he be doing? No,
the deputy president is much like what you have in the county governments, the deputy governors, where you are supposed to be, like you said, principal assistant, but at the same time you're supposed to sort of stand in when the boss is not there. So like the concept that we had when we had the deputy president was that if the president is not, the commander-in-chief is not available, the president is not available, you have a substantive person who can act in his stead, and that is where you have the deputy president. in the first term, we had a situation where our deputy president was very active and robust. And so he was able to participate a lot more in cabinet and in development projects, for lack of a better word. That's where even this Tanga Tanga name came from, because he was the one who used to be the guy going around the country, inspecting, launching, and all these other things. So he had sort of carved out his space, and he was useful in that area, which we have seen some deputy governors are successful at and some are not very successful at. But you must understand that usually that happens when you have the complicit support of whoever you're deputizing. And that's why we are seeing a situation where, I want to share Sankok's, enthusiasm of the wholeness of Jubilee. But it's clear to all to see that there is definitely a problem. It's not business as usual. However, in this situation, I think if you're looking at Jubilee as a party, President Uhuru Kenyatta, for all intents and purposes, has no more use for Jubilee. He's serving his legacy term. After this, I don't think he's seeking for re-election, despite all the noise we're hearing. So for him, Jubilee is, if you're looking at it in terms of a tool, he's done and dusted. He's been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. The person who really needs Jubilee to be intact is Deputy President Ruto. And that's why for him, you can see him fighting tooth and nail to try and ensure that the party stays together, because if the party is not intact, then come 2022, you have a situation where you're looking for a new vehicle to start afresh. And I doubt that that is in his interest at this point. And that is why you have this talk about the system, because for a system now, for them, they would rather find another person to look out for in terms of succession politics, which is what the machinations we have seen so far. The misfortune with doing that is that you throw out the baby with the bathwater. President Kenyatta still has 2 years of his legacy term to serve. He is still president. And if he does nothing with the rest of his term, history will judge him harshly. We won't be remembering that there was a super CS, or there was system, or there was what. No, we'll just be saying, oh, Kenyatta was a disaster of a president. And for him, he has to weigh all his cards very carefully, because if he does not deliver, if he does not finish strong, it's his name that will bear that. But at the same time, he has the handshake. He has to balance. Yesterday was the 2nd anniversary of the handshake. Has it achieved what it was intended to achieve? To some point, it is successful, but to some point, it is very not successful. So I think he needs to just, because he's the one with the balancing act right now, he needs to think about this very critically, very without emotion, and just make some decisions that will help propel this country forward, but help also secure his legacy. But there's something that Mark said that I think we need to also look at. When you're looking at this Kenei murder, and you look at it politically, it makes no sense at all. That's why when I was listening to Mark, I was like, look, if we start going down there, it doesn't make any sense. His phone is deleted, but there's telecoms. Have Safaricom said that there's nothing left there? Because, quite frankly, when you're looking at people's records, you don't look at the handset, because factory reset, everybody of us can do it. But records are available elsewhere. If you're looking at these people who arrived in Kenya, where else have they been? There's some questions that have been asked that are not being answered. And that's why I said here last time, when the DCI chooses to prosecute their matters on the media, we lose important information that should be found out in stealth. Right now, I see DCI Kinoti is supposed to be learning from the FBI.
Right.
I'm looking at him, and I'm hoping he gets a little bit of that intelligence of how to work his docket without muddying the waters with politics. Because we really stand a chance of a young man's murder not being solved here because of the politics of the day. When you come off the bat and you make information available, and people can hear what is going on, and then they start covering their tracks, at the end of the day, you will never find out what really happened. I wish as a country we would be more strategic in our engagement. And especially as a law practitioner, I get very annoyed when I look at all the drama that we have around some of these cases. And I'm thinking very simple things that could be done to solve these issues are not being done. We have to come to a place where we become more serious, because Kenei's murder was not, for the rest of us, it's a matter of conjecture. But for a family, it's no husband, no father, no son, We have to be sensitive to other people who are involved in this. And at the end of the day, when we make a pledge, we'll get to the bottom of this. It's not because of the politics, but it is because when something has been done wrong, even me, if I'm murdered, I would want to know that they would work hard enough to find out who did it and bring them to book. So I wish we would remove the politics out of everything and just decide, you know what, if there's criminality, we are going after it with everything we've got. Because like I said before, the measure of a successful DCI, the measure of a successful DPP is the convictions that we are securing, not the ramsaters and the press conferences. Okay. That never convicted anybody. Oda,
I want to bring you in on this as well. Even as we look at this particular story, some people have said another spanner in the works with this particular intrigues is the BBI. For a long time, people had said the DP wasn't part of it. He was against this particular process. But even from where you stand, we feel like some people are making more noise about the BBI and have forgotten the development agenda, the Big Four. We don't hear that anymore.
Actually, Jeff, you are taking me even off the topic. I need to contribute to what my, friends here. Okay, fine, I'll move it forward. Number one, Joy, I don't want you to use the reference that when you are murdered, because for now we still need you for a lot more years to come. And we also don't want you to think, according to Simbarati's words, to some people wanting to maybe commit suicide and blame it on others. I don't know who those people are, but you know, those are people who are there. Number two, Joy, let us agree. We are dealing with the police force. We are dealing with an investigative agency that is so porous. So porous in nature that even some of them will take sides with their tribes. That even the remaining professionals in these institutions are very few. And let's give Kinoti credit where is due this credit. Because number one, he has to play it this way.
Because to investigate in public, in the public gallery?
Let me tell you, Jeff, you are dealing with somebody who calls himself number two. But ironically, again, blames the system. I am number two in command, and he says in the same function. And in the same function, blames the system. I don't know how that works. But let me tell you, Jeff, this information that Kinoti tries to investigate can be sold to them or to him or to whoever and be played out there in burials even before you release it. So to me, it's a matter of DCI thinking very fast and goes ahead of them. Well, these people are even able, you can even go and get the CCTV footage and keep it. And the following day, you come for that CCTV and even your juniors maybe have even been used and maybe try even to distort facts in that CCTV. So let's agree that Kinoti has to do what he's doing. He has to release information ahead of these people. Because we want this year to go and sit there and relax. Because we have two things here. One, Joy is a law practitioner. She knows you can even choose to prosecute your case before the public opinion. Because we are dealing with courts where you don't know, people will even be given, will be granted bails out of nowhere. But even before they are granted that bail, you should think very fast and say, okay, fine. If they get their way out there, but then the people should also know the truth, that this is what they did. But for example, the 23 minutes come in there is because
the reason I want to jump in there is because something Joy is also saying is the fact that once all of this is put out here, then the likelihood of getting successful convictions drops. So yes, we will talk about the story.
And let me tell you,
but no one ever does the
you are talking of very powerful people in this country who say they have no portfolio, they have no power. Yes, they are also so powerful. They're in the DP's office, and they actually some of them work in the number two's office. So what I'm just trying to say, Jeff, even if people don't, justice will not be found in courts, but two things must happen. One, the public must know that it was not 23 minutes, it was 1 hour, 22 minutes. The public must know that so-and-so was involved. The public must also know that, yes, these people, this is what they did, but they brought their way somewhere else. That is another thing. And another thing, that justice will be found even before the Almighty God. Because we are dealing with a country, Jeff, this country, no, where I mean, Bicheche, this country is so porous. And so you guys wanting the DCI to keep quiet and keep information under the table. My friend Jeff, let me tell you, we are dealing, Joy, yourself, and Mark knows very well that this kind of information, you cannot keep it for long down there. They will even use anybody in that office to try and get information out there. Okay, let me go forward. About this BBI thing and development. Jeff, BBI, you will not have a country if you have no peace in this country. And we agree that Constitution 2010 was not good enough. It had 20% that had to be fixed. We must fix them, even as you do business. It's like telling me that you cannot chew gum and walk at the same time. Development will continue.
In the space of the BBI right now, things aren't as they should be.
No, let me tell you, just a few selfish people who had set their eyes that there must be president in 2022. They are thinking that BBI is being used now to try and curtail them. And that is why they think, that maybe that, I mean, to me, if you ask me today, DP Ruto's portfolio is out there launching water projects, the CDF is out there going to churches, swapping churches, is out there, he still has his motorcade intact.
We're becoming back but still intact as we talk about the handshake. We are going to be talking about that after the break. You had a rejoinder to his statement.
I just want to remind Kenyans, the DCI is not Kinoti. And let's be very clear. We cannot live our lives disparaging all moves that happen within institutions that we need for Kenya to continue to be a sane society. Now, let's be clear. I have watched, okay, in, for example, Trump's cases in the United States, I've watched the FBI give briefings, okay? I've watched them give briefings. For us to say that it is entirely wrong for the DCI to give any form of briefing is not being true to the Kenyan public, because there are certain things that are of national importance, okay, that people need to have a sense of information before they come into their own fake news cycles. That does not mean that the DCI should go and prosecute its cases in the glare of the public. That is also not right. But let us not say that because Kinoti came and gave a description of how Kenai died, that then now the entire investigation has completely collapsed. That is not true. Because one of the things that Kenya needs to realize, we need to have confidence in our institutions. None of us has received DCI training here. None of us has all the material evidence of the case to say that what Kinoti said is enough for people to make sure they've covered all their tracks. That is not true. Thirdly, we cannot run away from the responsibility that the DCI officers hold in terms of informing the public. Why do we not complain? If you go to their Twitter today, okay, you will see someone has been arrested. They had 16 phones. Is this one of your phones? Then why don't we complain when the DCI goes public on Twitter? Why don't we complain when they give us updates of gunshots were heard in this place and this is what happened? You know, the thing is this. We need to be very careful to draw the line between the responsibility to inform the public and the responsibility to keep evidence close. Okay. And this thing of throwing mud at the DCI wholesale because it is politically relevant to do so is not right.
I'll come to you as we wind up this.
Yes, surely. You know, briefing the public as far as the brief is very correct. Like when there was the information that the cartridge only moved to the left side and cannot move to the right, it depends on where the gun is pointing, because you can use this finger to trigger the gun. You can also use this other finger.
So you feel that was relevant? I feel that
was not correctly informed. Anyway, what I wanted to yes. Your point is no, it's just common sense. You know, okay, because the whole of this Kenai murder is because of this issue of procurement of, I think, 40 billion worth arms. Let me tell you, Ouda and I sit in parliament. We allocate funds. There is only 105 billion that was allocated to DOD. Out of that 105 billion, almost 60%, because our wage bill is 53, but DOD being of service is almost 60% wage bill. Now, when you go to fuel, including jet fuel, it goes to almost 10 billion. What is remaining is less than 30 billion for other issues like purchase of vehicles, purchase of aircraft, and so on. So when you are procuring arms worth 40 billion, where does the money come from? Even if it means you did not do mathematics, you can count.
That was
sorry.
The last one as we get into the break, because there's been some question as to you talking about anything in public.
And all these gentlemen are making my point. They're all looking at this with the politics, and I'm looking at this as a professional, because unlike what Mark thinks, I have some training in criminal law, and I have been a magistrate. I have used evidence as a part of my daily routine. And I know for a fact, if you're coming to court, you come with facts that are uncontroverted. Now, when you're investigating, and I picked an issue, a very particular issue. DCI told us that Kene's phone was wiped out. Today, there's something in the newspaper. The telcos are saying that's impossible to do, because all our records are backed up in the cloud, all our records are backed up with the mobile service provider, and 3 weeks after Kene's murder, the DCI has not been to the offices or made a written request for those records to be made available. Now, he has stated, he has spoken on one thing, that professionals are coming out to say another, and this is the point I'm trying to make. The DCI has a responsibility, yes, to give us information when information is available, but when they're giving us information, it should not jeopardize or sabotage their own investigations. Why? Even when the FBI or others give information about a case, they'll give you information that is either already in the public domain or they know does not sabotage the investigations. And the questions we'll ask them, and they'll tell you, I'm not at liberty at this point to disclose that. Why do they do that? Because they want to stay ahead of whoever they're investigating. My point is, with the way the DCI has been functioning the last few years, we have a lot of ramzatas when we are initially starting a case, but eventually it goes and collapses in court. Why? Because there's critical pieces of the puzzle that are not put in place. And right now, what I'm seeing with Kene's murder, that's what I'm saying, he should remove himself from the politics. If he just looks at it in terms, is this a murder, how do we solve it? Then, and in fact, he's the one who told us it was a murder, because initially they said it was a suicide. Then go ahead and mind all your P's and Q's, dot all your I's and cross all your T's. Before you come to the court of public opinion, ensure you have enough to go to the court of law to secure, because that's what we pay you for. We pay you to secure convictions. We don't pay you to put up a good show. At the end of the day, the politicians will say what they have to say. You say, like, now, others have decided it is number 2, others have said, as far as I'm concerned, Kene's widow just wants to know, why did my husband die? And that question has to be answered.
And that cannot happen if that office, if the office talked about is involved. I'm saying, Joy, you are not only as a
when we come back after the break, we are shifting gears to about the handshake 2 years on.
Any politician have no order.
We're back after the break, talking about the BBI and the Big Four. Order Sankok. We're going to put up your mic. We're going to put up your mic, Sankok. We need some order here. Back after the break with more.
Let God come in.